Topping today's news, 2 teens killed in separate shootings believed to be related. A motorcyclist killed in another hit-and-run accident. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell in Azerbaijan at a meeting ahead of COP29. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News, and it is a pleasure to have you join us. In the first of 2 shooting incidents on the weekend, an 18-year-old was shot and killed while on the basketball court at a primary school on Wolf Road shortly before midnight on Saturday. Police say the male got into an altercation with the suspects on the basketball court, who then followed him towards Quintine Alley when one of the suspects produced a firearm and shot the 18-year-old. The victim was taken to hospital in a private vehicle but succumbed to his injuries and became the 48th victim of murder for the year. About 3 to 4 hours later, police were called to yet another shooting on Smith's Lane, just a few blocks from Quintine Alley, which claimed the life of yet another teenager, this time just 15 years old. Chief Superintendent Skipping said the victim was asleep in his home when someone forced open a bedroom window, pushed their hands through, and fired multiple gunshots into the bedroom, fatally wounding the 15-year-old. It becomes the 14th, or the 49th rather, homicide for the year. Today, Superintendent Skippings gave an update on their investigations into both shootings, again believed to be related.
One of the suspects, one of the 3 males, had an ongoing feud with the 4 males who were on the basketball court. That ongoing feud commenced from high school. Following that incident, an associate of the deceased went to Thresher Lane, where he decided, or I should say where the second incident occurred. Presently, in relation to the incident at Thresher Lane, which I referred to in my initial statement, at Smith's Lane, we have an 18-year-old in custody. And in relation to the incident that occurred at Quintine Alley, we have 2 juveniles in custody.
Criminal investigators also confirming today that the death of Evan Fox has been ruled a suicide. 33-year-old Fox was reported missing on April 27th and was found dead in bushes off Frank Watson Boulevard 2 days later, lying outside of his vehicle. Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Christine Skippings shares the latest update on that case as well.
As you know, the pathologist concluded her postmortem in that, and it was determined that it was self-inflicted. And so that matter right now is closed, and we move forward from there. There was injuries to the body. I'm not going to be specific with that at this time. But I can tell you that we did find a shotgun on scene.
Police, utilizing drone technology, spotted a gray Dodge Ram truck parked in a bushy area on the eastern side of Frank Watson Boulevard. Upon arrival at the scene, responding officers confirmed the discovery of the vehicle and Fox's partially decomposed body. A motorcyclist has become the latest victim of a traffic fatality here in the Bahamas. Police say sometime around 3:50 a.m. on Saturday morning, they were called to the scene of the accident. Upon arrival, officers discovered a Blue Trail motorcycle just east of Market Street on Ponciana Avenue. Police investigators are uncertain which direction the victim was traveling when he was hit by a vehicle. EMS were called to the scene and confirmed the male appeared to be dead. He appeared to be between the ages of 20 and 30 years old. And again, he was assumed to be lifeless at the scene. The driver of the other vehicle fled the scene, and the police are aggressively seeking any information on the driver or the vehicle that was involved. According to JCN's records, this is the 26th traffic fatality for the year. Follows the death of a 66-year-old man who died in hospital last week after being hit by a car while jogging in the Montague Beach area. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell is leading a delegation on behalf of Prime Minister Philip Davis to Baku, Azerbaijan, at the invitation of President Ilham Aliyev. Azerbaijan is the host of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or COP29, in November of this year. The government of Azerbaijan has identified the principle of inclusivity as a central approach to their hosting, and in keeping with this principle, President Aliyev has invited leaders of 3 small island developing states who are most vulnerable to climate change, including the Bahamas, Tuvalu, and Tonga, to Azerbaijan to personally hear their concerns and to invite them to help draft an agenda that will reflect these concerns. During the meeting, the Azerbaijan government pledged to review micro-projects to benefit the communities most impacted by climate change, which will be submitted to COP29 along with grant requests. The meeting is expected to deliver a historic declaration. And finally, in this segment, as the Bahamas continues to attract new foreign investments, there is still the stigma that doing business in the Bahamas can be frustrating, and the government is trying to change that perception. To reduce the timeline, Director of Investments at the Bahamas Investments Authority, Felicia Hanna, says the government has consolidated those agencies vital to seeing investment projects from application all the way to completion.
When you're dealing with multiple government agencies, obviously there will be some turnaround times and significant turnaround times due to the constraints that each of us suffer. And so as a result of that, and to mitigate the time delays, that project development committee that will be comprised of all of the requisite agencies will come together, and there will be will review investment applications, and there will be a recommendation made by that one body to the National Economic Council, which will significantly cut down the turnaround time, as well as make sure that the each files across all of the government sectors reflect the same information.
The Investment Authority, which operates out of the Office of the Prime Minister, has been designated as a one-stop shop designed to simplify investing in the Bahamas. Meanwhile, there are some sectors like wholesale or retail operations and real estate that are protected for Bahamian investments only. Ms. Hanna said the Investment Authority is looking to make adjustments to those policies as well.
What we are doing is looking at the concessions that are currently being granted to developers under the Hotels Encouragement Act, the City of Nassau Revitalization Act, and other, the Agricultural Manufacturers Act and other acts that provide for concessions, and seeing where we can close the gap, where there are, especially in the supply sector, we're trying to assess what is the local capacity in order to revamp and revise that list that is currently in the policy.
Ms. Hanna was speaking at the most recent press briefing at the Office of the Prime Minister. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.